You're listening to the AstroMommy Daily Horoscope, a forecast that hopes to shine a light in the dark, helping us all see where we've been, where we are, and where we're going. Whether you're a first-time listener or a long-time subscriber, thanks for being here. I truly appreciate you being in the AstroMommy community. Without further ado, here is the Daily Horoscope. Mercury trine Jupiter and Jupiter stations retrograde. Time to thresh out the truth from the chaff of illusion. Daily horoscope for Monday and Tuesday, September 4th through the 5th, 2023. Good morning, friends. First, happy Labor Day to those of you who are in the United States. I hope you are enjoying your holiday. A few bits of housekeeping before we get into the forecast. This week, I am back to my regular posting schedule, and if you're new here, welcome. I'm astrologer Monica Mosey, aka AstroMommy. I am a Western tropical astrologer using primarily whole sign and Regiomontanus house systems. I am currently studying Hellenistic and Horary astrology. You can learn more about me and how I was raised in an astrological home by reading my introductory post, Meet AstroMommy. In addition to the daily horoscope, which I publish 4 times per week, I also read tarot cards, post a daily tarot reading, and host a monthly lunar poetry ritual on the new and full moons each month. Click on this link to find out more about that if you like writing or reading poetry or would like to check out my more creative work. Starting this week, I will be implementing a few subtle changes. First, the read-aloud audio version of the newsletter will only be available on the podcast. And towards the latter part of the week, I will be separating the tarot card for the day as well into its own newsletter. This way, all the aspects of the newsletter will be organized into their own groups so that you may have more control over what you spend your precious time on. You will be able to opt in or out of each version of the newsletter, the written, the podcast, the tarot, and as always, the poetry. This will help me a ton in production and will also help me understand what you all like. I appreciate your feedback so much, so please, please, please let me know what you love, hate, would like more of, less of, or wish I would write about. If you would like an astrology or tarot reading from me or have questions or suggestions, you can find links to my services and social media at the bottom of the newsletter or reach out to me by email at astromommyastrology@gmail.com. This newsletter would not be possible if it wasn't for all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Okay, let's get into the astrology. Well, this week starts out with Mercury in Virgo retrograde, forming a trine to Jupiter in Taurus, who then stations retrograde himself early Monday morning. Then midweek on Wednesday, the Sun and Mercury, both in Virgo, meet up for Mercury's Cazimi moment, marking the midpoint of the Mercury retrograde, and finally, we end the week with the Sun in Virgo perfecting a trine to Jupiter retrograde in Taurus. So this week's astrological bookends are both trines, involving Jupiter, and according to ancient astrologers, the trine is of the nature of Jupiter, and acts as a force that brings energies together with ease and harmony. The midweek Cazimi, when the Sun and Mercury come together, is an auspicious moment for greater mental clarity, feeling an enhanced ability to speak, write, and think, and could bring aha moments, especially around what this Mercury retrograde is about for you. If you missed the Mercury retrograde horoscopes for all 12 signs, you can go back and listen to them by clicking on this link here. Also, this week we have a lot of activity in the signs Virgo and Taurus, as this is where most of the action is happening. Virgo and Taurus are both earth signs. Virgo is mutable earth and Taurus is fixed earth. The element of earth is about stability, being practical, focusing on the essentials in life, organizing our environments, being patient, stubborn, and moving slowly and deliberately through life. Taurus is a grounding force that helps us plant our feet firmly in the soil. But Virgo is a bit different in that it marks a time of year when we are preparing for the change in season, harvesting what we can, planting cover crops, and preparing the garden beds for fall and winter. Virgo teaches us to be of service to the change and help it along rather than fight it. The Taurus energy is more resistant to change, while the Virgo energy, although critical, is more flexible. So this week we are finding harmony between what we have, value, and want to keep, and where we can be of service to the changes in our lives that are taking place. Just like the leaves start to turn red, brown, and orange on the trees around us, metaphorically this could also be happening in the garden of our soul. And this could be scary if you didn't understand the cycle of the trees. But because we do, we know that it is a natural part of life, and our job is to admire the beauty, admire the changes that are happening in the world outside of us, and simultaneously admire the beautiful changes that are happening inside of our hearts, minds, and souls. It is interesting because we have Mars in Libra right now, and Mars in Libra wants to fight for what he feels is unjust and unfair. But what if Mars felt that this natural change in the leaves of the trees was unfair to the trees because he didn't understand the cyclical process? He would be fighting for something that those of us who understand the season of fall would find ridiculous and ignorant. Beware of people making judgments that are based on a feeling or a fear rather than knowledge, wisdom, and common sense. This is further emphasized by the South Node, also in Libra right now, and in a quincunx to Neptune in Pisces, creating illusions, false truths, and misguided attempts by things like the media and marketing campaigns. Don't be fooled into thinking it's bad for the leaves to change colors right now, and that we all have to turn into martyrs and fight for the trees. The moon will be traveling through Taurus and Gemini and then move into Cancer on Friday. So most of the week, emotionally, we will be looking at life through the lens of Taurus and Gemini, fixed earth and mutable air, respectively, asking ourselves, what essential resources do I have already that I can utilize, and what facts do I know to be true? And finally, how do I feel about it all? So I feel this week is actually a very powerful week where we may receive big messages, illuminating downloads, and greater clarity on what is taking place in our lives and in the world at large, but we have to be smart, practical, and use our critical thinking skills to thresh out the truth from the chaff of illusion. The play-by-play for Monday and Tuesday. All times are Eastern Time unless otherwise noted. On Monday, Mercury in Virgo retrograde forms a trine to Jupiter at 6:28 a.m., right before Jupiter stations retrograde at 10:10 a.m., and then the moon makes a trine to Mercury in the afternoon at 1:35 p.m., and then conjoins Jupiter a half hour later at 2:05 p.m. Eastern Time. What this all means is that big messages may come in unhindered and without delay, and then it is up to us how to respond, reflect, and reevaluate the meaning, working through the myriad of thoughts and feelings these messages may invoke, and then expanding them into a vast and wide overview, like pinching a computer screen toward the middle, enabling us to see the bigger picture, which may be harder than normal after Jupiter stations retrograde. In between all of that, at 7:12 a.m., the moon in Taurus forms a trine to the sun in Virgo, representing a focus on what we tangibly have that we can put to good use to be of service to others. Our essential resources, Taurus, with our service to others, Virgo. How can we bless others and stay on our own paths at the same time? At this same time exactly, the moon is also perfecting a semi-square to Neptune in Pisces, indicating that we may have a wish that we would like fulfilled, but it's not realistic right now, so we scrap the idea. By 8:08 a.m., the moon in Taurus makes a square to Venus, who has been in direct motion now since Sunday night on the East Coast, but she's only moving 1 minute, 1 second of arc per day, and has a while before she will be back up to her usual average speed of 1 degree, 12 minutes. The moon and Venus in a square can be a challenge, especially for the women in your life. There could be arguments and disharmony in the home or in romantic relationships or between family members. On the other hand, things could have turned around last night when Venus stationed direct, and this transit sort of punctuates this new direction, bringing it closer to home, so to speak. Jupiter in Taurus stations retrograde at 10:10 a.m., as I said before, symbolizing a period over the next 4 months where we may experience a revision, rebirth, or redemptive quality to areas in life where we are expanding, growing, and widening our worldviews. Our beliefs about a particular topic could change or feel deflated, and we could feel inspired to try harder to do something. Depending upon where in your chart the Jupiter retrograde will be occurring will help clarify what areas in life the feelings of expansion and blessings may be going through a revision, reduction, or recovery. We have gone from 6 planets retrograde with Mercury, Venus, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto, down to 5 when Venus stationed direct on Sunday, and now back up to 6 with Mercury, Jupiter, Saturn, Neptune, Uranus, and Pluto. We have had a changing of the guards, and the benefics, Jupiter and Venus, have swapped places. This is really interesting, especially since Venus will perfect a square to Jupiter, the third in this cycle, on September 17th, 2023. In the afternoon on Monday, the moon will trine Mercury retrograde in Virgo at 1:35 p.m., and then 30 minutes later, the moon will conjoin Jupiter in Taurus. This is a time when our ideas will flow freely. Words may spill out of our mouths with ease and grace, maybe even a bit too gracefully. It's a time of heightened popularity, especially if you work in communication or writing. The moon and Jupiter coming together could expand your family, grow your feelings, or enhance feelings of joy. On the flip side, since Jupiter is now retrograde, these feelings could have an undercurrent that feels like we've let the water out of the pool, the air out of the balloon, or pulled the plug on the bathtub. Our enthusiasm, which is usually increased when the moon and Jupiter meet, may just be less grandiose than normal. It still may be big, but just a little less big. The last transit of Monday is a sesquiquadrate from the Moon in Taurus to Mars in Libra at 10:53 p.m., indicating that we have started something, got something going, and we hit a speed bump or a pothole or something unfair happens, and we have to wait for it to resolve before moving forward. On Tuesday, we have a day of transition because the Moon will be in Taurus all day until she ingresses into the sign of Gemini at 4:06 p.m. The Moon starts out her day by conjoining Uranus in Taurus at 3:27 a.m., symbolizing something liberating or revolutionary happening in the way we experience love, relationships, and the good things in life. Then at 8:21 a.m., the Moon forms a quincunx to the South Node in Libra, representing a bit of a drain in our emotional resources or the desire to look away from something that may be troubling you. As I said in the weekly overview, there could be martyr-like zealots trying to convince you that we need to save the trees from their changing leaves. Don't believe the hype. At 9:59 a.m. Eastern Time, the Moon then forms a sextile to Neptune in Pisces, and instead of being met with some resistance, we are met with an open doorway. The sextile represents an opportunity between what we have and what we dream about. The veil becomes a bit thinner between worlds, and our dreams may become more vivid. By 12:45 p.m., the Moon in Taurus perfects a trine to Pluto in Capricorn retrograde, and something crawls out of the depths of the Earth to provide a space for cathartic healing. This may be a powerful realization or a deeper understanding of some sort of emotional baggage that you've been carrying around. The Moon ingresses into Gemini at 4:06 p.m. on Tuesday, and this marks the transition from being very sensual, passionate, and sensation-oriented Moon in Taurus to the more mental, analytical, and fickle Moon in Gemini. The Moon in Gemini is focused on the details, collecting the facts, and experiencing everything at least once. Gemini is a social sign that wants to connect with everyone, talk about everything, and connect all the dots. Gemini is extremely curious, mischievous, and adept at solving puzzles. In the evening on Tuesday, the Sun perfects a sesquiquadrate to Pluto in Capricorn, which means that the metamorphosis and transformational changes that we are going through have a temporary pause or reprieve, and we are able to take a breath. We can see the change we are undergoing, and it could still look and feel uncomfortable, but we have hit a place where we are given the opportunity to rest and regroup ourselves before the next chapter. Following that, the Moon in Gemini perfects a square to Saturn in Pisces retrograde at 9:49 p.m. The Moon and Saturn in a hard aspect, like the square, can symbolize feeling stuck, limited, or restricted in some way. And because of this, feelings of isolation, melancholy, or sadness may come up. We could be trying to figure life out right now and make sense of the many different pieces to the puzzle, but some of the pieces are oddly shaped or the pictures are fuzzy. The square to Saturn could give us a helpful limitation, like deciding to start with the side pieces of the puzzle and work our way in towards the middle. Saturn in Pisces is trying to create structure and method in a place where there is no structure, no method. It's a surreal landscape in Pisces, one that moves and sways like rocking and undulating seawater in the open sea. Saturn tries to form some sort of solid structure or island, usually in the way of organized religion, dogma, or rules when it is in Pisces. But this island is continuously washed away and consumed by the rushing waves of the never-ending current and effluence of Pisces. The only thing to do when Saturn is in Pisces is to hold on to your faith and your spirituality and remember that your body is the only island needed to connect to the divine. The day ends with the Moon in Gemini perfecting a semi-square to Chiron in Aries. Do we really want to identify with some idea again that isn't based on facts? No, we don't. So we brush it aside like a bug on the windshield. Let's move on to the card for the day. What is the guidance for Monday and Tuesday? Full moon eclipse. Conclusions are within reach. On this card, we see a full moon eclipse behind a grove of bare trees in the dark, the sky studded with stars in the background. The full moon is a time of culmination and endings, when we've reached the peak of something and there's nowhere to go but down. The ascent stage is done, and now it's about assimilating what we've learned, sharing it with others, and making a legacy for ourselves. As the guidance for the day, I feel this card could be telling us that something is about to reach its peak, come to its highest point, and then begin the waning phase and end. So that could be good news if you've been going through something uncomfortable. This card is saying it's about to hit the climax and relief is on the other side. On another note, this card may be showing up as a reminder that we are allowed to seek conclusions, endings, and the apex point. Sometimes it feels like we have to do things forever and ever until we die, the ultimate conclusion. But I don't believe that. I believe that it's natural and organic to have cycles in life that end and allow space for new cycles, chapters, and seasons to begin. This card is simply telling us we have permission to end something that has reached its peak. What do you think or feel when you meditate on this card? I would love to hear your thoughts and whether or not this reading resonates with you in the comments. I hope this is helpful. Until Wednesday, AstroMommy. Thank you for reading or listening to the daily horoscope. Quick links and resources can be found at the bottom of the newsletter. Today's card was pulled from the Moonolgy Oracle cards by Yasmin Boland, available on Amazon. If you seek knowledge and enlightenment, the AstroMommy Newsletter may be right for you. Side effects of reading or listening to the AstroMommy Newsletter are common and include joy, jubilation, delight, happiness, gratitude, love, triumph, feeling in tune with the universe, experiencing deep insights, reflections, and contemplations, a lightened soul, a lighter step, feeling awake when others are asleep, illuminated, enlightened, having spiritual experiences, noticing repeating numbers, animals in nature, or songs on the radio that speak to you, getting vibes, clairvoyance, clairaudience, and clairsmelliance, feeling like you know secret language, biophilia, crying tears of joy, emotional literacy, feeling lively, stable, exalted, having an auric glow, or feeling like you woke up on the right side of the bed have all been reported. If you purchase anything through the affiliate links that I provide in the newsletters, I will make a very small commission. Thanks for listening.